So in this video, we're going to talk about how the Supreme Court's recent ruling in New York State Rifle and Pistol Association v. Bruin handed a big win to California gun owners, which helps to eliminate the California handgun roster. So let's talk about this. But real quick before we jump into this video, if you think the California handgun roster is unconstitutional, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe. Also, I want to thank one of the main sponsors of this channel, which is USCCA. Through your membership, you get training, education, and self-defense liability protection. So if you carry a firearm, I highly recommend you take a look into USCCA, and I'll leave a link to them down in the details section. So like I said in the intro, in this video, I'm going to talk about how the recent Supreme Court ruling in New York State Rifle and Pistol Association v. Bruin will impact a case that was sort of in the background in California for a while, but now will be very important and will be in the forefront because it will result in the elimination of California's handgun roster. This really important case is Renna v. Bonta, and it's actually a case I helped work on when I originally started working with FPC. So for those of you who aren't aware, Renna v. Bonta is a challenge to the California handgun roster and also AB 2847. In the state of California, there is the Unsafe Handgun Act, which lists a bunch of requirements for a handgun to be deemed safe for sale. Some of these requirements include the handgun being drop safe, and also the handgun has to be microstamped or have microstamping technology. This all resulted in a list of safe handguns being created that ordinary law-abiding individuals can walk into a gun store and purchase. This list of approved handguns is often called the California handgun roster. So for example, a Gen 3 Glock 19 is on the safe handgun roster, but a Gen 4 or Gen 5 is not on the list and therefore not approved for sale. You may be thinking to yourself, well, why is a Gen 3 Glock on the list, but newer models like the Gen 4 and Gen 5 not being on the list when they're essentially the same thing? None of them have microstamping. Well, that is because some handguns without the compliant aspects were grandfathered into the list. However, there are some exemptions from the handgun roster, mainly being law enforcement officers. So law enforcement officers are able to purchase handguns that are not on the handgun roster. Ordinary people can acquire and legally possess off-roster handguns, but usually they have to come into possession of the off-roster handguns by purchasing them on the secondary market from someone who is exempt, like a law enforcement officer, or someone who maybe brought that off-roster handgun into the state of California when they moved to the state of California. This structure leads to insane resale prices where you have to pay sometimes 2 or 3 times the traditional price to be able to get your hands on one of these handguns. For example, recently I saw a Glock 43X going for close to $3,000 on the secondary market, when people in other states can buy them used or new for way cheaper than that. So as you can see, the California handgun roster creates a big issue in the state because it restricts the type of handguns that ordinary citizens can purchase, but also it creates an elitist system that in the state of California, officers are exempt from this system, and also pretty much anyone who can pay insane amounts of money can get their hands on these types of handguns they want, but ordinary people can't. As if the issue of handguns was not bad enough in the state of California, the state legislature then went ahead and passed AB 2847. Under this law, a new requirement was added where whenever the state adds a new handgun to the roster, 3 of the older non-compliant handguns must be removed from the list. So this put a lot of those older generations of handguns at risk of falling off the roster in the state of California. So Renna v. Bonta is a challenge to the Unsafe Handgun Act and the implementation of AB 2847, which seeks to reduce the list of approved handguns. Now, in my prior videos on this topic, when we discussed Renna, I told you that a judge in the case granted the state of California's motion to dismiss part of the case. The part of the case that was dismissed by the judge had to do with a new challenge to the California Unsafe Handgun Act. The court dismissed the Second Amendment challenge to the handgun roster because there is a prior case called Pena v. Huron, which already has challenged the California handgun roster. In the Pena case, the Ninth Circuit found that the California handgun roster does not violate the Second Amendment. In reaching that determination, the Ninth Circuit used the interest balancing approach, or the two-step approach that the Ninth Circuit tends to use. Well, the Ninth Circuit's opinion was then appealed up to the Supreme Court, but the Supreme Court did not grant certiorari in 2020, so that essentially led to the Pena v. Huron decision in the Ninth Circuit being controlling precedent, and that controlling precedent was that the handgun roster was not a violation of the Second Amendment, and in reaching that determination, the Ninth Circuit used the two-step approach. Because of that decision in Pena, the court here in Renna threw out the handgun roster challenge because they claimed Pena already resolved that issue. However, Pena did not address the scheme like AB 2847, where handguns would be removed from the list, and on that basis alone, the court allowed the Renna case to move forward. Well, as we all know, the Supreme Court's recent decision in Bruin has completely changed the landscape of Second Amendment litigation. One of the key holdings of the Supreme Court's decision in Bruin was the type of analysis that the government's regulation is now subject to. A regulation must meet the text as informed by history and tradition standard. Justice Thomas, in the opinion of the court, stated, "To justify its regulation, the government may not simply posit that the regulation promotes an important interest. Rather, the government must demonstrate that the regulation is consistent with the nation's historical tradition of firearms regulation. Only if the firearms regulation is consistent with the nation's historical tradition may a court conclude that the individual's conduct falls outside the Second Amendment's unqualified command." So in the Supreme Court's decision in Bruin, they reaffirmed text as informed by history as the standard of review, and they also expressly rejected the two-step approach which balances interests. The two-step approach and balancing of interests is exactly the standard review used in Pena by the Ninth Circuit to uphold the California handgun roster. That means the prior Ninth Circuit decision in Pena is no longer valid. Also, the motion to dismiss, which was granted in Renna dismissing the handgun roster challenge, is also invalid. Because of this Supreme Court ruling, Renna can now move forward as a renewed challenge to the California handgun roster under the text as informed by history standard. Now, procedurally, there are still some things that need to happen in this case, Renna. There will likely be motions filed to reconsider maybe the motion to dismiss in light of the new law in Bruin, and there also will likely be maybe motions to dismiss in our favor or summary judgment motions in our favor as well, which are filed in light of the new Supreme Court ruling. Now, currently a trial in Renna is set for 2023, but in my opinion, all these timelines are going to change. This likely will not even make it to trial. There are going to be battles on motions and preliminary injunctions, and that's really where this case is going to develop. So I wanted to bring this case back on everyone's radar, especially for those of you who have been asking what will happen now with the handgun roster after the Bruin decision. Renna, in my opinion, will be the case leading the charge to re-challenge the California handgun roster, and hopefully will once again challenge it and eliminate the handgun roster in the state of California, so then we can actually go out and purchase and acquire handguns that everyone else in most states can actually have. And now with the Bruin decision and text as informed by history as the standard, we have a stronger chance of getting rid of the handgun roster in California. Now, before I end this video, I want to bring your guys' attention to something else. Right now, gun owners of California, in association with CRPA and some other organizations, are currently looking for plaintiffs to sue the state of California for their quote-unquote data leak. Right now, they're looking for plaintiffs to maybe do a class action lawsuit against the state of California because of all this information that was released by the state. Now, right now, this is just a potential lawsuit, but from my experience working with organizations, one of the hardest things to find is plaintiffs. A lot of people don't want to sign up for these lawsuits, or it's really hard to find plaintiffs that are willing to put themselves out there. So if you're interested, I will leave a link to GOC down in the details section where you can sign up to be a plaintiff or show interest in being a plaintiff. And again, this is a lawsuit to sue the state of California because they released our information. So if you guys have any questions, go ahead and comment down below and I'll try to answer the best of my ability. Also, if you like this video and like support the channel, one of the best ways to do that is to like, comment, and subscribe. All those things help to fuel the algorithm or fuel Al Gore's rhythm. It adds fuel to his jet and it signals to YouTube that you guys see value in these videos and in this type of 2A news. Again, I want to thank everybody who likes, comments, subscribes, who hits the notification bell, who shares these videos. You guys are directly impacting these videos, impacting this channel, helping me to reach and educate more people than I could ever do on my own. So again, thank you so much for all of your support. And as always, thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And never forget, this is Built Bar Arms Scholars, and this nation will be maintained by Arms Scholars.